6:30 though, so we're going to call this meeting to order.
Hello, got it, okay. And we do have a quorum. So I'd like to announce that this meeting of the Seguin Independent School District has been duly called and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.043 of the Texas Government Code. And Ms. Reel is going to lead us in the pledges this evening.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
And now for a moment of silence. We will have our announcements from Dr. Gutierrez.
Good evening, board members and Seguin ISD community. It is my pleasure to share highlights that have occurred since our February 27th school board meeting, as well as other news from across the district. First, the Seguin High School Matador Band received the District 2016 National High School Heart of the Arts Award, sponsored by the National Federation of State High School Associations. The band was nominated by the UIL, University Interscholastic League, for supporting the Rockport-Fulton High School community this past fall. I know that Mr. Malden, his staff, and students are excited about receiving this award, all of them deserving of this tremendous honor. On Thursday, our UIL one-act play students performed David's Mother at by-district competition against 5 other high schools from districts 25 and 26. Seguin High School's theater arts team was one of the 3 programs chosen to advance to the area competition. Students who earned individual awards include Jeremy Marmolejo for Best Actor, Isaac Gonzalez and Amber Mawandi Spitek All-Star Cast, and Naomi Gomez Outstanding Technician. I had the opportunity to see these talented students at their by-district performance, and they are truly impressive. Best of luck, Matador Theater Arts, on Saturday as they perform at Taylor Johnson High School in San Antonio, and the showtime is 3 p.m. and I highly encourage you to go and see them if you have not. It is a very powerful and moving production. 3 Lady Matadors competed in the Texas High School Women's Powerlifting State Championship held in Waco on March the 16th. Jade Ross received the bronze medal for her 3rd place finish in her weight class with lifts of 260 pounds, a 260-pound squat, 150-pound bench press, and 300-pound deadlift for a total of 760 pounds. Wow. Rebecca Castillo placed 6th and Ashley Hernandez placed 10th in their respective weight classes. We look forward to recognizing Jade at our April board meeting for her 3rd place finish at state. 3 boy powerlifters competed in the state meet over the weekend, with Cody Elizalde placing 5th with a total lift of 1,285 pounds. Brandon Palomares placed 6th and I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. Keen Davis was 19th in their respective weight classes. For the first time, we had 3 bands from Barnes Middle School and 2 bands from Breezy Meister Middle School earn sweepstakes ratings at UIL Concert Sight Reading Competition. Congratulations to Barnes band directors Noel De La Cruz and Sean Moriarty, plus Louis Blancart and Elizabeth Landry, Breezy Meister band directors. Cricket Chirps writers Reagan Rogers and Zoe Lynn teamed for a district championship in UIL journalism over the weekend. Congratulations to both of these young students. Reagan had a busy weekend, finishing as first runner-up at the Guadalupe County Distinguished Young Women of the Year contest on Sunday at the Texas Theater. I was able to attend that event and am proud to report that Ashley Hernandez of Seguin High School is the new Guadalupe County Distinguished Young Women. The Seguin runner-up was Lena DeHardy, who is also a Matador. Danielle Zhu of Seguin High School won the Self-Expression Preliminary Award. Congratulations to these young ladies who were all so talented. Our 5 first-place regional Destination Imagination teams will compete at the state level competition in Arlington on April the 6th through the 7th. And I'm confident that the Weinert Elementary 3rd grade team, the 3 6th grade teams from Barnes Middle School, and Seguin High School's DI team will do their best. Good luck, and thank you for carrying on the tradition of Seguin ISD as a major player in state DI. I'm looking forward to being there for this event. The District Fine Arts Collage was held on Saturday, and it was a tremendous opportunity to see performances and artwork from our elementary, middle, and high school students. We had a great turnout of parents and community members throughout the afternoon and capped it off with a grand finale in the Performing Arts Center. Mark Bewley, Director of Fine Arts, organized the event, and I know that our campus fine arts teachers worked closely with Mark to make this year's event a huge success. On February 28th, we had our first Facilities Committee meeting. Those in attendance received an overview of our current facilities and shared their ideas and recommendations on areas that need to be addressed in the future. This Thursday evening, I will meet with key communicators to share information on the strategic plan, our dual language programming, and the early college high school. The afternoon of April 5th is our annual job fair, and the ROTC program hosts the annual military inspection on April the 6th at 9:30 a.m. We have a board workshop planned for April the 10th at 6:30, and our next regular school board meeting is on April the 24th. As a reminder, we will close for Good Friday, and I hope that everyone has a blessed Easter. Thank you for your continued support of our talented Seguin ISD students.
Thank you, Dr. Gutierrez. Everybody's been really busy. In the middle of all that, remember, it was spring break, so that was a lot of activity in basically three weeks. Yes. We'll move on to our board member reports. I was lucky enough to go to the One Act Play performance, and I do encourage everyone to go if they could. I was asked to participate in Queenie Reading Night, so I read a book to some children, and that was really a ton of fun. Also attended a percussion concert. These students went on to Indianapolis, is that correct? Yes, during spring break, and so they needed to perform before they went. The Fine Arts Festival really was quite wonderful. I think this is the largest one now that we have the facility. It was the largest one we've had, a lot of participation, just lots of great paintings and drawings and pottery, all the elementary school choirs, and then they had a lot of little sessions for other things as well. So I was lucky enough to visit with some of the band students, some of the choir students. I went to watch some of the dance students as well, and the mariachis. And I just really think this is going to grow as we grow. I believe that is it. Mr. Holt.
Thank you, Madam President. I've had a busy month as well. Attended the UIL One Act performance. Attended the district-wide 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade math bee, where 3 students from each grade level from each elementary school attended and competed for the top math person in their grade level. Attended the NBLC's March graduation. Worked the middle school track meet that we had here at Matador Stadium. Attended the percussion and saxophone Indianapolis send-off concert. Attended a softball game, and we'll be talking more about softball here in a minute, Coach Garcia. Been to 3 baseball games. I attended the Texas High School Women's Powerlifting Association state competition in Waco. I drove up there and supported our 3 girls that were competing up there. They were phenomenal lifters. I mean, there was a lot of phenomenal lifters up there. And unfortunately, was not able to go to the boys' meet because it was in Abilene, but I heard they did well as well. I attended the SISD Fine Arts Collage, and then was also at the Guadalupe County Distinguished Young Women, where 9 of the 11 girls that competed were Seguin High School students. So I mean, we have some very talented junior women at our school, and it showed very well at that event. Thank you.
Steffenberger?
I don't have anything to report.
Okay.
This past month, I did nothing really exciting, except that I did attend David's mother, and I was highly impressed. And that's what they want to do, acting careers. I hope to see them on the big screen or TV. They were really, really good.
Thank you.
I also attended, today there was vestibule, a safety feature for bars and Bürgermeister, and planned it all out, more or less, and it will be completed in August.
That's
For
great.
the school. The other thing that I wanted to mention was Bürgermeister. I have gone by Bürgermeister in the past few months, and it was sort of dingy looking, the lights that is. And light poles were old, I think from the early 70s. And some of them I saw that were sort of falling apart. Well, I heard that they were being replaced, so I went to go look at them, and they had this small little lights, and I said, I wonder if that's going to be any good. So I went by at night, and it's bright. It's very bright. And I'm glad that was done, and I was informed that our maintenance department did the installation. So I congratulate them, they did a great job, and I think they saved us some money. My next question is gonna be, how much? And hopefully they'll keep it up.
Mr. Jenkins?
I attended my first high school softball game this last month, and I think it went for 13 innings, I believe it was. So I got my money's worth out of it. And really enjoyed myself there, and then I've attended some baseball games too, and that's been fun. The last one last night, unfortunately we lost on that one. It was a sad one, but I've had fun with that too. And then with Ben, we've been with the Buildings and Grounds Committee, also looking at the vestibules with construction staff and so forth. So that's about it.
Ms. Reel?
So I'd like to use my time to see, first of all, I'd really like to thank the Seguin High School for their mental health awareness activities. That's incredible. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from that, and I think that's really appreciated by everyone. Thank you. And I have a pretty big announcement for one of our Seguin High School seniors, Lee Allen Berger, has been received an appointment to West Point. We're going to try to set something up in the future, do a little resection here, working on that. But if you see him, tell him congratulations. He's really, really excited.
Mr. Flores?
Nothing to report.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to our campus recognition presentations. We'll start off with the Jefferson. Mr. Flores?
Yes, ma'am. It is with great pleasure to introduce tonight's speaker campus, and this evening we have Jefferson Elementary School. Miss Mary White serves as the principal at Jefferson. She is here tonight to share a wonderful performance from the Jefferson Drum Company, which is led by Mr. Keith Robinson. Miss White.
Thank you, President Thomas Jimenez, members of the board, Dr. Gutierrez. We at Jefferson are very proud to be here tonight. We have Mr. Bretsky, our assistant principal, in the back. We have a couple of our teachers and an instructional coach here tonight. Before we begin with our presentation, I want to take just a fast minute to express to the board our appreciation at Jefferson for our designation as a LINK campus for next school year. We are so excited about that. Teachers have gone to one day of training, and they look forward to that second day next week, and we're ready for next year. The second appreciation I want to express to you is your support of the 5th grade field trip to the HEB Foundation camp. Some of our 5th graders are in this group tonight, and they would be glad to tell you what a wonderful field trip that is and how meaningful the experience is for them. So thank you very much for supporting that for us. We have the distinct pleasure of having our Jefferson Drum Company. They represent us throughout the community, and music teacher extraordinaire, Mr. Keith Robinson. Anyway.
So I hope everybody can hear me without a microphone. I have a feeling we can because I use this voice fairly frequently throughout the day. The first piece that we would like to start off with is numbers. And speaking of numbers, we would like to again say thank you to the Seguin Education Foundation. In 2009, did you already say that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, in 2009, we were awarded a grant that helped us to purchase some of these instruments up here, and that kind of got the idea in my brain about starting a group like this. So this is Jefferson Drum Company. The first piece we're going to play, we'll do two pieces. They're fairly short. First piece is called Numbers. In music, there are two numbers that are very important: the number 4 and the number
8.
and the number 8. A lot of multiples of 4s and 8s happen in music all the time. So this is called Numbers. Jefferson Drum Company. Start with your voices first. Can we back the stage up just a little bit? Yeah. Here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Woo! At Jefferson this year is called Weebly Wheat. I won't sing it for you, but we took some pieces from Weebly Wheat and we kind of weaved it together, and we came up with this drum ensemble. One of the things I love about music in general, but especially about this group, is that it really demonstrates how important it is for us to work together as a cohesive unit, as a team. And you've already heard that, but this especially, you kind of hear a part layer on top of another part on top of another part, then we take some parts out, and anyhow, this is Weebly Wheat. Thanks for letting us perform for you. Are you ready?
venture to guess that Mr. Turner, the percussion director at the high school, really loves this group. Some future members, yes. And will y'all be performing at Earth Day this year? I've seen them in the past. Yes, okay. Good, thank you.
And they performed at the Arts Collage as well.
Yes, they did.
They were there.
Great job,
Great job.
Jefferson.
Great job. Thank you for sharing. All right, moving on to Coach John Garcia's 300th win. Dr. Gutierrez?
Yes, this evening we have a special recognition, and that is Coach John Garcia. He had his 300th softball win on March the 21st with a 16-1 home win over Kerrville. He has been at Seguin High School for 13 years, and he has had a total of out of those 300 wins, 245 wins have been here in Seguin, and he has made 9 playoff appearances. So we wanted to take some time tonight to recognize him on this huge accomplishment and thank him for all of the hard work that he puts forth to make sure that he prepares not only strong athletes, but great leaders in his softball program. And he's here today. So Coach Garcia, if you wouldn't mind coming to the front.
Is it on?
Yes, it is.
First of all, I'd just like to thank the board and the central office for giving me the opportunity. When I first got here, my first interview was with Dot Whitman, and it went really great, and she pretty much hired me right away on the spot, which really made me feel good. Felt like I was wanted here. Seguin is a great place. I came from Floresville, and you hear things, and it's just, Seguin is a great place. It's an amazing place. I love it. That's why I've been here 13 years, and hopefully I'll be here 13 more. And we can celebrate more of these things, this success like this with the little kids and everything, and softball and all the athletics. And I just wanted to thank you guys for recognizing me in the program. It means a lot to me, and it's just special when people acknowledge that, and I thank you very much.
We get the whole board and
Like all of us?
you know, if you said all of us. Too short. All right, if y'all can just squeeze it a little. From 3. When we took these the other day, I took about 10 or 12 pictures, and I did get one with Coach Garcia legitimately smiling. So. Kind of cherish that photo.
Yeah.
Cherish it. Great. It's framed in my office.
We'll try not to make it last so long.
There you go. It was fun, though.
Moving on to
Item 3, which is audience with the board, but we didn't have anybody sign up this evening. So we will move on to our report items, and we start off with an Seguin Early College High School update. I believe we have Mr. Schmidt and Ms. Garza to give these updates. Thank you.
Good evening, esteemed board members and Dr. Gutierrez. I'm excited to talk to you about some important information about Early College High School. So you received an update form from me earlier this school year. We have another update based on the state's new change in accountability system for early college high school. It is going to have an impact on our model, so we felt it was really important to evaluate where we were at and to share that information with you all as well. You're all familiar with our current model of the 4 pathways, so you've seen this multiple times. As far as the accountability goes, it's been in place for at least 10 years now. There is an ECHS blueprint that we're bound by. There are 6 benchmarks on that blueprint, and you can see them listed there: target population, partnership agreement, leadership initiatives, curriculum and support, academic rigor and support, and school design. So up to now, this is what we've been held accountable to. And there are 3 categories that an early college high school campus can be: initiating, implementing, and exemplar. We've done a pretty good job so far, and if the model were to continue, or if the accountability were to continue on this path, I have full confidence that we would be exemplar very soon. However, the state likes to change things up once you get good at something, so we're going to adjust and adapt and be successful with that as well. We're ready. So what does that mean moving forward? The 2018-2019 ECHS blueprint has the same 6 benchmarks, except now there are outcome-based measures, OBMs that they refer to, effective next school year. So there are some reasons why the state has decided this. They've decided that, or they've realized that over the last 10 years, they've noticed that there have been some districts that have handpicked their early college high school students. They picked the cream of the crop. They picked the students who they knew would be successful. And so the state is bringing down the hammer and decided we're going to change the expectation and accountability so that doesn't happen. So of course that does have an impact across on all the ECHS campuses across the state. They're doing this to ensure compliance and effectively implement legislation, as well as to inform policymakers and obviously to strengthen organizational foundations. So in the past, it's been very a narrative-based focus as far as the blueprint goes, and now there's going to be a different type of accountability, and I'll share those with you on this next slide. The accountability will begin with our current 9th graders. So that's the class of 2021. The new categories you can see are provisional, early college, and distinguished. So the new categories are different as well. The first category, provisional, are schools for 0 to 4 years. They're making schools who want to apply now actually go through a year of planning and applying, so that's why I said 0. Early college would be 5 years plus, and the distinguished would be for schools who at least had 5 years under their belt, but who had met all of the outcome-based measures that we're going to talk about. Each benchmark will be evaluated on different data indicators, and so I wanted to share that with you. So you can see campus demographics hasn't changed, benchmark 2 hasn't changed, benchmark 3. But when we get to benchmark 4 and benchmark 5, that's where you start to see some of the changes in the accountability that are going to be tied to our campus effective 18-19 school year. So what does that look like? You should have a copy of this handout. You do have a copy of the blueprint, and on page 10, that's benchmark 4. I went ahead and put some numbers to the slate so you could see what that would look like. Now, these are benchmarks and data indicators that would be expected to be put in place by the end of our students' 11th and 12th grade year. So what I did is I put our class of 2018, our first graduating class of early college high school, I put their numbers up if we were to be held accountable to this today. So some of the new changes you can see if you look at the second row, completing 1 college level English course by the end of 11th grade. Just to fall under the early college category, we have to have 90% of our students. So that would mean 90% of our class of 2018 would have had to have completed a dual credit English course by the end of their 11th grade year. To ever meet the distinguished level, you have to meet 100%. So I want you to think in the frame of we've been comprehensive up to this point, which means we've said all of our students are early college, high school. So if we were to continue with that model, then we would have to have 414 students to be distinguished, have completed one college level English course by the end of their junior year. Same application for the college level math course. If you go to the column that says earning 15 college credits, we'd have to have 80% of our students complete that by the time of graduation, 95% to meet distinguished level. So I just wanted to give you a picture. If you put the numbers to the accountability system that's going to be put into place, it's put a challenge with our comprehensive model. It's created a challenge because of the fact that the state did realize that some districts were taking advantage of the system because it was more narrative-based instead of outcome-based. There were some schools who looked great on paper, and so they're holding everybody accountable now, and this is what we would have to do if we remained comprehensive. It would have to be every single one of our students to ever be distinguished. So what are we proposing as we move forward to maintain sustainability and to maintain our accountability as well? You have a handout like this in your packet as well. We have decided with the guidance or under the guidance of our ECHS coach to transition to a school within a school. So we are required to meet with our TEA ECHS leadership coach 7 times a year. We actually met with her today for 3 hours and she had feedback on what we're doing as well. So this is a growing process. This is not set in stone. This is a year of transition progress that we're going to take. So whatever plan that we work on will take place or will be implemented this next school year and will be in full effect for the class of 2022. Okay, so we are proposing phasing into school within a school, having possibly 2 early college high school pathways. Do you all not have? You do, okay. You do? Okay.
It's in the board packet.
It was in the one we received,
Okay. And so we would estimate approximately 120 to 140 students per cohort. The key point that I want to point out, that I want to make sure that everybody understands, is that we're not taking away dual credit opportunities from anybody. And that's most important, because when we talk about dual credit, when we talk about early college, high school, we talk about opportunity. We're not taking that away, so we are allowed to offer dual credit as early as the 9th grade, regardless of whether or not a student is in either of the early college, high school pathways. So we want that to be very clear for our students and parents, because that's not going to be taken away. If a student wants to take dual credit, they're 9th grade, but they're not in the associate's degree pathway, they can do that. And so we want to make sure that students and parents understand that we are still allowed to, especially with our partnership with St. Philip's College, to continue offering those opportunities. Academic support, a proposal we're talking about is putting in place a team of 9th grade teachers that would support our early college, high school students at the 9th grade level. That is the most critical, crucial year for our students, regardless of whether they're ECHS or not. And so we talked about that. Some other mentions being advisory time, tutorials, and a dedicated ECHS counselor. Social emotional support, we are very grateful for the district approving communities in school. They play a huge role with all of our students, and so they would continue to be a support system for ECHS students, along with AVID, a teacher-student mentor program, and a peer mentor program. Along with ECHS teacher support that we feel is also important so that they can grow and fully serve our students. Any questions? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, and it sounds like y'all have a lot of challenges ahead, so let's see what we can do to help. Moving on to 4B, Seguin ISD Dual Language Enrichment Overview. We'll have Dr. Venus Valenta.
Good evening, Board President Thomas Jimenez, members of the board, and Dr. Gutierrez. I'd like to provide some information regarding our upcoming dual language model transition, serving our bilingual students at the elementary campuses. So currently, we have an early exit model, what we call an early exit model, to serve our bilingual students at the elementary campuses. And the goal of the model is to transition them to develop an English level proficiency. And typically, students are in the program 2 or 3 years, so they exit between first and second grade out of the program. So why transition to dual language? And basically it comes down to our data. We haven't been seeing the consistency and progress in our bilingual students based on our PBMAS data over the past several years. We've been staged, and we've gone from stage 2 to 3 and back and forth. So we want to establish some consistency with progress in our bilingual students. And so basically, research says that with a dual language model, students will be able to become proficient not just in their native language, but also in a second language. So our bilingual students would become proficient in English as well as keep their native language Spanish. So providing more English instruction throughout the day doesn't guarantee the academic progress that we want to see in our bilingual students. So our dual language implementation district-wide would be replacing our transitional early exit model. We will be also starting a two-way model within the dual language program. A dual language model has 2 variations. There is a one-way immersion and two-way. And in a one-way immersion, what happens is that all the students in a typical elementary classroom would all be English language learners, all bilingual students. In a two-way program, you have a class of English-speaking students as well as another class with Spanish-speaking students. And what they would do was they would become bilingual pairs, and they would be paired up at various times throughout the day. And so monolingual English-speaking students would learn Spanish, and our Spanish-speaking students would therefore learn English. To implement a two-way district-wide is going to take several years for the process to roll out. We will be starting one cohort of kinder students at Kennedy that would be two-way, being served two-way, while the rest of the district will be served with a one-way model. And so as you can see with this slide here, it's going to take until 23-24 so that we could roll out just even at one campus a two-way model across the entire campus from kinder through 5th grade. Again, dual language two-way is taking English-speaking students and Spanish-speaking students and serving them together throughout the day. Half of the instruction would be in English, half would be in Spanish, and that would be determined by the content area. So, for example, following the Gomez and Gomez framework that we would use for this model, English is used in mathematics and Spanish is used in science. So depending on the content area would be determined, the content area would determine the language of instruction. Also, students will be given the same TEKS, will be covered in English or in Spanish. And again, what we really want to emphasize throughout those campuses is that we would have language of the day designated. So for example, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, Spanish would be spoken, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays, English would be spoken throughout the campus. Now, throughout the day, in the content areas, again, English and Spanish, depending on the content area. But throughout the day, for example, on Mondays, if that's the day that the language of the day is Spanish, for example, the Pledge of Allegiance could be said in Spanish. And so throughout the building, if there are Spanish speakers that are not necessarily bilingual teachers, they can also help throughout the day in making sure that students are exposed to the language outside of the classroom. So the characteristics of the program, a dual language program needs to be fully implemented 6 years in order for students to see results. Also, there's that real communication of not just learning the language in the classroom, but outside of the classroom and throughout the school day. Therefore, the purpose of language of the day, whether that would be English or Spanish. And in a two-way model, the best ideal model is to have the same number of English-speaking students and Spanish-speaking students. So for example, if you have a classroom of 20 students, ideally you would want 10 Spanish speakers paired up with 10 English speakers. And so throughout the day as they work together, they would be paired in twos. And so there are advantages for our English speakers as well as our Spanish speakers in a two-way model. The advantages for our English speakers is that when you have students that are English speaking in a dual language two-way program, research says that they perform on grade level or outperform students in an English-only classroom. And also, they develop a positive attitude towards other students and just other people in general that are linguistically and culturally diverse from them. And also for our native Spanish speakers, what happens is that they develop a level of proficiency, of course, in their native language Spanish, but also in English, and they perform on grade level in English, or they outperform other students being served in, for example, early exit or late exit models. And they don't lose that communication with parents. Their parents or their family, they're able to continue learning their native language while also obtaining that second language. So there's benefits for English speakers and Spanish speakers. So what are our next steps in order to fully implement the program? So there has to be some consideration for getting students on board, our English-speaking students within the Kinnicky attendance zone. We're looking at approximately 15 students that would want, and 15 parents that would want their students in a two-way program at Kinnicky. There's also consideration for professional development over their summer following the Gomez and Gomez framework. There's also consideration for resources. We would need more Spanish, for example, Spanish textbooks in science all the way through 5th grade, because the program, again, needs to be fully implemented for 6 years. And then also attracting and recruiting and attracting more bilingual teachers. In a two-way program, the English-speaking students would be in a classroom with the minimum ESL certified teacher, and of course the bilingual students would be paired with a bilingual certified teacher. Any questions? Mr. Holt? Yes.
I have a couple actually. Now you're showing that the implementation of this will be by the school year 2023-24. Will that only be at Kinnicky, that full implementation only be at Kinnicky, since that's the only one?
No, we are looking at, depending on the community response and if there's a need within the community to expand the program to other campuses, then most definitely that will be considered to expand the two-way program to other elementary campuses.
Okay, and then my second question was, how was Kinnicky chosen as the pilot program school for this? I mean, is the data there showing that we have a half to half, or is there, because to me, I mean, and I may be corrected on this, but the numbers seem like the Kinnicky would not have
Yeah, that was my
the most students that would benefit from this.
Okay, right. Good question. So one of the key to these most successful dual language implementation is leadership. So that is the key to roll out a successful dual language program within an elementary campus. It is a principal who has expressed an interest and who is committed to see the program through, because it is going to take several years for us to see the end results of students being served in this program. And so Cynthia Moreno expressed an interest in implementing a dual language program, and so that's definitely the key to successful implementation, is a strong leader who is looking forward to implementing a new program and sticking with it.
Any other questions, Mr. Flores?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Okay, that was one of my questions in regards, but I was looking at more from a demographic standpoint from the school district, but the leadership will be from Dr. Gutierrez' standpoint, so I'll leave that one alone. But so very good program. Inclusion is obviously something the district has been talking about for a number of years. I think any district has always discussed inclusion within the district. The other question I had, obviously, bilingual teachers. Every district has that issue, is trying to recruit. We're no different than anybody else. So, $1 million question, of course, is how are we going to? What are we going to do different? We always ask this of DOT, and is what are we going to do different to try to recruit bilingual teachers here in Seguin, because this has always been a challenge for us. So what are we going to do different, because that's always been an issue.
I'll chime in since
All right, please.
Mrs. Whitman is not here, but it is a challenge in any district to find highly qualified bilingual teachers. They're highly sought after everywhere, and we're entering the recruiting season, and everyone is fighting for this small pool of teachers. And I'll touch on that here later in another agenda item. But one of the things that is a big tool in recruiting bilingual teachers is simply the two-way dual language program itself. Bilingual teachers, having been in human resources in several districts prior to Seguin, bilingual teachers tend to look to go to school districts either for their first job or to change districts because they want to be part of a two-way dual language program. So that itself will be a tool. We're going to continue to be aggressive in finding the right fit and really targeting recruiting at job fairs at universities that let out a high number of bilingual certified teachers. So it is going to continue to be a challenge and a conversation that we're going to have to be a little bit more strategic, because we've got to make sure that we have the right people in the classrooms that can help us implement this model with fidelity.
Good, because I think this is a great program that definitely needs to be looked into. Thank you.
Well, I have a question.
Ms. Eckenberger?
All the students are tested annually. How do you determine what tests these students take?
So we have LPAC committees, so the classroom teacher along with parents would get together and determine the language that the students would be tested in terms of STAR. That would be a decision based on the committee. Parents are included as well as campus administration.
Does the student have a choice about which one he takes?
I think more the adult, the teacher, and the parent, the child's parent, because in terms of elementary school, sometimes we have third graders that, they're taking the test for the very first time, so they might not always know what's best, but of course they can be asked the question, once they take an exam, and they could, for example, give a student the test in English and Spanish and ask them what they feel more comfortable in, as well as looking at the data. So considering that, as well as parent and what the classroom teacher feels would be in the best interest of the student.
Mr. Amador?
Have you had any experience in implementing this program?
I actually have a daughter who is in 5th grade in a dual language two-way program. So I understand Spanish completely. It's a little bit more difficult to speak Spanish, pero entiendo todo en español. So at home we speak English, but I wanted her to have a stronger foundation in Spanish than I have. And so I'm going to tell you, when they say that it's a commitment of 6 years, it really is. Students generally start out in kinder and 1st and 2nd grade. As a parent, I felt, I'm not sure that I quite am confident that she has English or Spanish. But again, research says it takes several years for them to develop a second language. And so just last year and definitely this year, she just came home 2 weeks ago and she showed me this report. And I don't know what happened to her, but I keep saying dual language fairy dust was sprinkled all over her, because she is fluent in English and Spanish and is being successful. And I'll tell you, I have an average student. Okay, she's one who would rather tumble and do gymnastics than read a book. And so I have, the utmost confidence in this program that I have my own daughter in a dual language program. But it takes a lot of patience, because it does take several years for us to reap the benefits and for the students to see their results. So she was very excited that she understands English and Spanish and is bilingual and biliterate. So we were excited. So from a parent perspective, I understand what that's going to be in the commitment for monolingual students entering the program.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Have you presented this to the Kinnicky families yet?
Yes.
And what's the feedback have you
Not the families, the faculty and staff to all our campuses.
Okay.
And not just the bilingual teachers, the whole entire campus. Because again, this isn't a little tweak. We are in the midst of a transformation from early exit to dual language. And so I wanted to make sure that the campus understood that this is a campus effort. It isn't a bilingual teacher thing. It's not just a pocket of people. This is a transformation for the entire campus.
And when will the applications become available?
Those will be coming out shortly. What we want to do is also have a meeting first with some of the ball parents that are current 4-year-olds that are slated to attend Kinnicky, and so present that information to them, and so they will have an opportunity to fill out the application, and it will be a random selection.
Okay. Ms. Real?
Yes.
Will it just be going out to Ball? I know we have some private preschools as well.
Yes, so initially, we, and I'm glad you brought that up, because, I've heard that not all our students attend Ball. Sometimes they just show up on the, front doors to register because they don't attend Ball. And so there are some daycares, and we are going to leave information as well. And then we did have that community meeting just Tuesday night, last week. Or the community meeting to inform other parents that may not have students in our school district yet of the opportunity.
Yes, sir, Mr. Holt.
So the remaining, since we're transitioning at Kinnicky, the remaining 6 elementaries that will not be participating in the first rollout, will they be maintaining the one-way?
Yes, that's correct. Right. The rest of the campuses will be served, and the rest of the students at Kinnicky will be served one way. It's just this first cohort of kinder students that will be two-way.
Ms. Effenberger?
Yes.
Will
ma'am.
parents of, say, Jefferson or Wyandotte School be able to choose to go to that dual language program if they want to?
So right now we are, this is going to be unique to Kinnicky, just like, for example, the LINK program is unique just to Jefferson. So, and I know that Wyandotte is going to have something unique to Wyandotte, which will be fine arts. And so this is something that will be unique to Kinnicky. But again, with a community response, then we will grow the program.
It's very important to keep in mind, because has been generating a lot of interest from parents who live in other boundaries in other schools, but when you're looking to implement something such as dual language, you want to make sure that you do it right and you start small. So we're starting with Kinnicky, with the kindergarten class, and we want to make sure that we can implement it with fidelity, work out all of the kinks, and our hope is absolutely with the board's support to expand the programming so that we have something unique to offer at all of our elementary schools.
All right. No further questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on to item 5, consent agenda items. BE Local states that consent agenda shall include items of a routine and/or recurring nature grouped together under one action item. All such items may be acted upon by one vote without separate discussion unless a board member requests that an item be withdrawn for individual consideration. The remaining items shall be adopted under single motion and vote. So in our agenda items, consent agenda items this evening, we have A, approval of board minutes, public hearing, special meeting, February 12th, and budget workshop and regular meeting, February 27th, 2018. The approval of tax collection reports for February 2018. The approval of proposed budget amendments and financial statements for February 2018. The approval of donations received in February of 2018. Instructional materials allotment, TEAC certification for 2018-2019. Consideration of approval of interlocal agreements to the City of Seguin for the Latchkey Program, Day Camp Program, and facility use, and consent for payment of the Region 13 Regional Day School Program for the deaf. Does anybody need me to pull any of these items?
Yes, Madam President, please.
Mr. Holt.
At this time, I'd like to request that item number F be pulled from the consent agenda item so that we may discuss it.
Sure, item F. Anybody else? All right, so we'll be pulling item F. Do I hear a motion for the approval of the others?
Oops, sorry about that. Move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Floyd.
Second.
A second from Mr. Holt. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. So give me a moment while I pull that one out, Mr. Holt. All right, so you've got it up on the board? Okay. So we're going to take a look at the Seguin, City of Seguin agreement for the Latchkey Program, the Day Camp Program, and facility use. And let's see, who is going to be able to talk with us about this? Mr.
Dot substitute.
You're the substitute today? All right. Mr. Lewis, anything you want to tell us before we start with questions?
These are agreements that we renew every year for our JAM program, Latchkey program, also facilities use. There is a difference. The city is added some cost of use fees for the lights at the stadium, and I think $150 fee for setup at the for the cross-country meet, which is a reduced cost from the fees that they charge other school districts or other individuals for setup for races. So it's about a $1,500 increased cost for facility use to use the city on our park.
There's a third item on there also is an increase as well as the golf course fees are and restrictions are changed a little bit as well, just to update everybody as well.
And we have Jack Jones here from the city. He can talk about those fees as well.
Yes, sir. The golf is actually the exact same as it was. There was no agreement in place for golf until now. Our auditors told us that when we looked at the golf program, they looked at the golf program is golf course is doing really well actually. It's we're excited about the golf course and the changes that we've done out there. But the auditor said we need to have an agreement with the school district on golf, outlining what the kids the time they can be there, the fees and things like that. And my understanding, golf, there's no change in the fees. We did say if you want to go play on the weekends, we charge $3. On the weekends, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. But my understanding, that was kind of I guess a gentleman's agreement. That's all that I know about golf is, it's everything that it's been a gentleman's agreement. It's actually written down in agreement format now.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you, Mr. Jones. I apologize for disagreeing with you, but in the past, there's never been an agreement to restrict the play of our students. You're restricting the students in our golf program to attend the golf course from anytime after 1. Now, it's my understanding that this all came about to the city council because of an individual that was playing that was a friend of one of the councilmen. Now, I'm a little concerned about it because, if I remember correctly, we are Seguin ISD and we are living in the city of Seguin, and I think we share the same name in both of our titles. And I think we're here for the community to enhance our community members, and the one community members we need to enhance the most are our students. Now, where I have a problem with this agreement and is we share in the JAM program with them, win or lose. We share 25% part in that. They get 75%, we get 25% of the net profits after all their expenses. We do not include our expenses into that. We do supply the location, the electricity for the location, the repairs for the locations, the maintenance, upkeep, the cleanup at our locations, and they get all the staff salary. They provide the staff, the administrative costs, the screening, and the snacks and vehicle expenses. Now, the one part that hasn't changed in this whole agreement is the latchkey program. That hasn't changed. The facility use agreement, though, the facility use agreement is the one that's concerning me tonight, board members. They've come to an agreement between the two about the use of, we'll start with the baseball field, Smoky Joe. It's my understanding that we are going to be responsible for an electricity charge that's estimated, if I'm correct, at this point, of around $1,000 for the use during practices, games, tournaments, whatever. Again, I had a problem with this because we don't charge them for electricity. It's not included in their cost to use our parts. Not only that, but ever since we started using Smoky Joe, we've always maintained the field. We've gotten very, what can I say, poor support from the city on keeping the field maintained, keeping it watered. In fact, last night, for those 2 board members that were in attendance, if you saw the field, it's very sparse as far as dead grass and green grass. I mean, it's pretty hard because it never gets watered. If we want it watered, we pretty much have to water it. In fact, our practice field here at our high school is actually in better condition than Smoky Joe field, if you ask me. We've maintained the painting of the outer fence, the outfield wall. In fact, one of our parents of one of our players was out there painting the Seguin Matador sign out there for us one day. We're told when we approached the city to ask to get it painted, they say, y'all can paint it. Get your sports boosters to pay for it. We've bought the paint, we've provided the sprayer, we actually own a spray gun now that we actually paint it with. So the maintenance of that facility is actually pretty much kept up with us. Now, we provide all the speed dry, and I talked with Coach Gerlich, who's over our fields. We provide the staff, the agreement is we provide the staff to work it and to prepare for it. And our boys, our actual baseball boys, are out there working the field before and after the games, which is fine. It shows them to be proud of the field that they're practicing on, and I agree with that. But I just have a main concern here that we're going to get charged, and it's not a set amount because they don't have it. It's an estimated whatever the usage of that electricity is. So, and it doesn't state out how they're going to read that meter or what they're going to do as far as to account for this electricity usage in this interlocal agreement. The second item was the Max Starkey Park rental fee. This is for our cross-country events, $150 per use fee. We've always set up the course ourselves, from my understanding, talking with Coach Gurley. We've lined it out ourselves, we've set it up ourselves, we've done all that, which that is stated in this to continue that way. They're just going to charge us $150 to use it. Now, because we've done such a great job, I believe they've gotten more people to use Starkey Park as a cross-country location for other cross-country events. And then, of course, the third item is the golf course, which currently gets charged $2 per bucket of range balls for each of our golfers. There is a limit to 20 golfers in the high school and 20 golfers in the middle school that can participate. I understand the supervision of the junior high golfers because they are learning the game, and I believe that's the group the individual came across that caused this to become a sore spot in his eyes. But in my eyes, this is our community that's using this. We are trying to teach these kids a game, a sport that teaches them a lot. Golf is a very mental and physical requiring sport. It's a very it's a hard game to learn. I mean, I've tried it for several years. I'm still learning.
And it's a game that you play the rest of your life.
And
So
it's a
many
game
of
that
the
you can
students
continue,
will
and you use
continue to go
networking
to Starkey Park to play
Yeah.
golf in the future.
in business, and you can use it in business. There's a lot of deals made on the golf course. When I was in the hospital field, I made a lot of deals on my golf course because I sure as heck wasn't playing golf. But the restricting of the students playing. I mean, during the summer, we want our students to achieve. We want our students to get better. And I understand that this is open to other districts around us. I'm not sure what their agreement is with the city on that, but the concern I have is that I think there's a disconnect between the community and our district when it comes to our students and the growth of our students into these areas. And I've attended other athletic events where we go to other cities, and the city has their people out there helping with the fields. They have their people out there working, and the city employees out there helping on Sundays, Saturdays, and Sundays during these events, because it's also their city that's being represented here. And my concern here is that we're going to be spending more taxpayer monies from our revenue on a taxpayer-supported entity. And I don't know why we're basically double taxing our taxpayers is what I see it as. And I'll turn it back over to Mr. Jones, and he can express if he wants to answer any of those areas. But that was my concern, is that we're getting hit by them, but we're not trying to instill those charges upon them for their JAM program. And yet they're making money off of their JAM program. And about $19,000, I believe, was the profit from the 16-17 year, correct? 19,000, let's see, where is that here? It was $19,613. And I know that we do charge admission to our ball games. The total income for last year for all of our baseball fields games was $4,700. We spent well over that amount of money for the materials that we put into Smokey Joe Field and the time that we put into Smokey Joe Field. I guess, I don't want to be the bad guy here, but I mean, if we're going to share in a 75-25 split, well, I think that could work both ways. If we want to play, hardball here, I mean, I don't see where the support is from the city of Seguin to help the SISD create better community members.
Well, I'm wondering, it sounds like there've been a lot of gentlemen agreements in the past.
With golf, yes, ma'am.
And I understand that now, the auditors are telling you need to have these things in writing. When this was put together, did the school district have any input in this contract?
We met with them a year ago and told them that we are looking to recoup offset some of our costs in regards to electricity and use of Starkey Park. About a year ago, we talked about it with the interim superintendent, Bill Lewis, and I sent an email to Dodd 3 or 4 months back and said that we need to start looking at this, and they said, tell us what you want to do. So we sent them our proposal, and I don't remember if we went back and forth as to what it's going to be, but we sent them, this is what we think it should be, and that was kind of it. So what's before you is what we thought it was. We thought it was reasonable in talking to school staff, and they thought it was reasonable. Reasonable can be defined in different ways, obviously. Certainly especially disagree with Trustee Holt on the condition of Smokey Joe Williams Field. We painted the entire fence a couple of years ago. The only thing that we asked is what it should do is paint the logo, because it's not our logo, it's your logo. And so they volunteered to paint that logo here about a month ago. We painted the dugouts. The fields are irrigated. We don't overseed the grass. The golf course is not overseeded either in Max Rocky Park. The greens are green because they're dyed green in the wintertime. So they're not overseeded. We feel like if we overseed our grass, it's challenging to get the Bermuda grass to grow in a timely manner. Right now, it's kind of spotty out there because the Bermuda grass is starting to grow. And in fact, it's almost green all the way through. With the rain coming tonight, tomorrow, it's really going to be green in the next week or so. But that's this transition from dormant Bermuda grass to green Bermuda grass. It's not because it's not irrigated. We take a lot of pride in the fields, and of course the school district does as well. You got to utilize the fields for games. And Coach Williams, he's got our cell phone numbers. We talk to him almost every day. I have a park superintendent who, they're working together. I don't know where he's coming from, Mr. Holt is coming from with some of these accusations with our ball fields. We work really hard to maintain them. We know that you are our guest, and we try to help the school with the leagues, with the games and the practices, and we work really well together. All we're trying to do is offset some of our electricity costs at Smokey Joe. And in fact, working together with the school district, the school board out there at Smokey Joe was 22 years old, worked with Dr. Gutierrez to come up to have a letter. The Kiwanis Club is actually applying for the GVC PIREP grant for $9,000 to replace the scoreboard that's out there now with the exact same scoreboard that's newer with LED technology. So hopefully next month, we'll hear from GVC if the Kiwanis Club got that grant, so we can go ahead and get a new scoreboard out there. So we work with the school district very, very well. In regards to the JAM program, a lot of cities are not involved in after-school care. If you look around the area, the Panther Club that's done by a for-profit person in Navarro. San Marcos has the YMCA does their after-school program. I think Rockville is YMCA. And then Church is YMCA. Rockville is YMCA. San Marcos is Boys and Girls Club. So we've been partnering with the school for the JAM program for the past 21 years now, and we work really well together. We're not proposing any changes to the JAM agreement at all. It's almost like you're contracting with us to run the JAM program in the schools. So it's not like that it's not a core function of Parks and Recreation to offer an after-school program. Summer day camp, yes, but after-school program, that's not really a core function that a lot of cities take on, but we're happy to do so. And we've partnered with you guys for 21 years, and we want to continue to do so, obviously. With the cross-country program, again, we're just charging $150 to help recoup some of our costs for trash and litter pickup and mowing and things like that out there. So this does offset in costs. That's all that we're doing. $1,000 for electricity, for baseball, $150 to use the park. That's what we're talking about.
So are you saying, Mr. Jones, that the fee that you're stating, that's stating here that you will send, I was looking for the exact verbiage, but had it. For the electricity for Smokey Joe's is $1,000 a year. You're saying that's what we're looking at?
Give or
Because
take.
it's not stated in here what price. The way it stated, it was, let's see if I can find it again. We will pay for electricity usage directly related to district-sponsored practices, clinics, and tournaments. The city will send an invoice to the district for payment once a baseball season has ended. So we're just going to get an invoice at the end of the season and not know what we're going to be invoiced for. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see, was there any data taken that would estimate what that amount would be or what the usage has been in the past? I mean, can you give me numbers from the past 2-3 years that the baseball team has used the field?
2 years ago, it was approximately $1,000, and last year it was approximately $1,300. And I've got about the month of February, the month of March, and the month of April. There's a couple of times where there's other Texas State has a program. They come out during the day. I'm not sure if they use lights at night, but we can certainly calculate. We've got meter readers that can calculate the wattage to make sure that we're exact and we're not to be up and up. Obviously, we'll be able to do that.
Well, and you brought up Texas State. I'm kind of glad you did, because Texas State had their tournament about a week after our season completed last year, and it was amazing that the field got watered the week after we completed. And I don't know, you say the irrigation, there's irrigation out there and you irrigate it, but I can tell you if you watched the balls last night out at Smoky Joe, that field hasn't been irrigated. And I don't know if your irrigation system's not working or whoever's your superintendent over your irrigation or over your field maintenance is not checking on it, but it's not operating because that ground is hard. The balls were ricocheting like they were hitting off of brick walls. It's not maintained. As far as overseeding, I can tell you, I've been to 3 other baseball fields this year, city-owned baseball fields throughout San Antonio and San Marcos and Durkin Springs area, and I can tell you that those fields look 10 times better than ours. And I don't know what they're doing, but maybe when I have some communication talks between those cities and see what they're doing to their fields as opposed to what we're doing to ours. Because whether we have Bermuda out there or I know they've got Bermuda. I mean, I just spent 3 weeks ago, I was at Edgewood. Edgewood? Yeah, Edgewood. And their field was green, lush, beautiful, and it was because it was winter rime over. It would have winter rime on it, and they watered it, and it was just phenomenal field.
It's expensive to do that, sir. It is.
I understand that. I understand. It's also expensive for us to maintain our school district. And we understand that. But we also offer that to our community.
Do you use recycled water on the baseball field?
It's the same water that's on the golf course.
Same water that's on the golf course.
It's river water, I believe. I think we may use some groundwater as well. I think it's more it's river water. We pump into ponds. It's not reuse water. Actually,
I think it might be.
It is
I think some
reuse
purple
water,
pipes
yes.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, we use reuse. I think I'm not over the golf course, and so the golf superintendent's not here, so I'm kind of speaking for him. But obviously, yeah, it's reuse water that go into the ponds, and then we have to coordinate with golf to when they're not watering, so we can water Smoky Joe and also water the fourplex with the same water.
Yes, sir, Mr. Flores.
Ms. Menace, I mean, this sounds like this may be opportunity for administration to revisit our contract. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I'm thinking we might need to sit down and renegotiate this interlocal agreement, or at least just sit down and visit and address some of the concerns that have been brought up. Mr. Jenkins?
I was going to suggest that we table it to
Actually, my motion was going to actually be postpone this until we could actually sit down, and I would love to be part of that meeting as well if I could, and I would like to ask that Coach Gurley also be requested to be involved in that because he's the one that's over our fields and does a lot of the purchasing of supplies for what we use out of Smoky Joe's and so forth, and I don't know if that would be okay with Dr. Gutierrez, but if we could postpone this until a definite.
We'll pull together a committee, and so is that a motion?
Yes, Madam President, I do motion that we postpone this until next month, or until we can actually have a sit-down, create a committee or something to review this new facilities usage policy. And like I say, I appreciate what y'all do for Latchkey, don't get me wrong. It's a service that we offer to our community. It helps out a lot of our community members. which is both, Seguinites as well as our district students. It's a service to them. It's a community service that we provide, that you provide. My concern is that I think we're double taxing our taxpayers by having us pay for something that we're already paying for, we're already allotting for.
All right. Mayor Kyle, I see you in the back. You good with the further discussion on this as well?
Sure.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion. Do I hear a second? Mr. Amador, any further discussion? Not. All in favor, raise your right hand in tabling this. Okay. Unanimous vote. Thank you. All right, moving on to action item 6A, approval of the strategic plan developed and submitted by the 2018 Strategic Planning Committee. And I see Eddie's here, so looking forward to this.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to start by introducing Eddie Colson, who has been our consultant for this process that started back in October. Before he gets started with his presentation, I certainly wanted to acknowledge those who were part of the Strategic Planning Committee that met over 2 days back in December. These individuals were willing to give up 2 days of their time, take 2 days off of work to be part of this really important process that is really going to drive the work for the next several years in our district. So I wanted to give the board an opportunity to acknowledge those who are here. We even have students who were part of that process who have been waiting patiently to be recognized. Thank you so much for your patience. So if you were part of that strategic planning committee, if you would please stand at this time. Thank you. You played a critical role in the visioning of where Seguin ISD is going to go. And as you just heard earlier, a lot of the groundwork has been laid with the programming that we are putting in place on our campuses, with the dual language program, with the District of Innovation being part of that. So I certainly appreciate your support in the direction that we are going to be going, and I know that you're going to be excited with the direction we're going, and we're going to get Seguin ISD back on the map. We will be a destination district, and I believe that it's already happening when we have families calling and asking about our programs, and teachers from some of our neighboring districts who are eager to come in and join Seguin ISD. Thank you.
Dr. Gutierrez, members of the board, thanks for having me. I appreciate the committee members being here as well. As we talked about back in October, again, a couple of months ago, the strategic plan is really a directional document for the school district. Where are we going? And how are we going to get there? And so we talked about that the plan really addresses this gap between where we want to be and what our current reality is. And so as we have talked a lot about the strategic plan over the course of the years, we talk about it as, just as the title infers, it is strategic. It is not a document that is going to lay out exactly what we're going to do every day over the course of the next 6 months. It is a document that is going to provide direction. It's going to give us the opportunity to address the needs of our staff, our students, and our parents. And so, and it's not a document for which we can't come back and look at over time based on the conditions that we have in our school district. And so it is a strategic document. It's designed to get us aligned in terms of the work that we're doing so that we're all moving in the same direction. It was really fun for me to hear about the experiences of Seguin ISD students from the percussion group that was up here, to hear about the weightlifters, to hear about the one-act play, to hear about all those things. Those are experiences that are meaningful to the students and will have just as much impact on them as some of the content that they learn. The impact in relationship, the impact in terms of the skills that they develop. And so as Seguin ISD just continues to move forward, one of the things it wants to do is to really have an impact on every kid, and you do that not just through content, but through the experiences that you give kids and the experiences that you give teachers, and the opportunity for them to exchange ideas and develop. Oftentimes school districts look like this as opposed to like this. And that is, there's a lot going on in 1,000 different directions. And it's start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. When I met with the teachers from some focus groups, it was just very evident that there's been a lot of start, stop. A lot of we start this, but don't see it through to the end. And so, as we think about this strategic plan, it is important that we start and that we keep going, and we identify those things that we really want to work on. And the strategic plan has helped us identify a lot of those things that we want to work on. And it has our beliefs, our vision, our mission, our priorities, and hopefully that binds us together and moving in the same direction. If you'll recall, the process included you to start with, and then we had a team of 8 training as well. It also had community forums, teacher focus groups, met with the key communicators before we got started, and I'll meet with them on Thursday night as well. And then we had a strategic planning committee that we met with for a couple of days in December. And just to get us grounded, you know, part of the issue with school districts is not just students in terms of their performance. It's we have to get teachers engaged in their work. Over the course of the last 30 years, the system hasn't been designed to really get teachers engaged in their work. It's been designed to tell them what to do and when to do it and how to assess it. And so as we think about, so what is key to any school district? Well, it's having teachers committed to their work. And there are fabulous teachers here in Seguin. And as we talked about the work that's being done, I think the plan will even help them be better and more engaged in their work as they're given some latitude in terms of going deeper with students rather than wider with students. We have so much content in Texas. We never met a standard we didn't like in Texas. So we try to teach everything to everybody. And the reality is that's not the most productive thing to do. We need to be able to teach a fewer things at a deeper level and in a way that will get kids engaged and teachers engaged. School has to be meaningful and relevant to students. How do you make it meaningful and relevant? Well, it's not just content. It's skills and it's experiences that you give kids as well. So we talked some about the skills that students need: critical thinking, problem solving, agility, and adaptability. I thought about the one-act play. I thought about the kids up here, and that they're just chock full of problem solving experiences, communication, collaboration, all those things that make us successful people are the skills that we need to teach and in class. And skills need to be a priority as much as content needs to be a priority. So here's some of the questions that we grappled with. You know, how does Seguin value learning over teaching? Just because we finished the content, does it mean we taught it? Well, not if the kids didn't learn it and take it and be able to apply it to what they know. Are skills as important as content? Is innovation among teachers expected? Are teachers engaged? Are they empowered to do their work? How do we measure success? How do we create this collaborative environment? And these are the beliefs that the committee settled on. I love them because they're about adults. If you're an adult in Seguin and you believe this, then it's going to impact how you teach. It's going to impact the questions you have. It's going to impact the experiences that you provide for your students. And those beliefs are: students grow academically, emotionally, and socially when creative and imaginative educators ignite their passions. You know, in the past, we've said, teachers, here's your content, here's your year at a glance, here's your scope, get through it. If we say your job's to inspire kids and help them find their passions, and for you to be creative, and for you to be imaginative, and to help kids grow, that is a whole different conversation. We want learning experiences to be engaging and relevant and collaborative to meet the needs of both students and teachers in the district. Obviously, Seguin is part of a community, and we have to partner well with parents, community, and our industry partners as well. And we want to foster student curiosity and initiative through very meaningful and relevant experiences, and then relationships that nurture student growth and development are keys to success. So the base of the plan is about these beliefs. And we said that, you know, what is our preferred future? Exceptional students, all of them, leading to exceptional citizens. A citizen is someone who can make a living, give back to their community, is a good mom, is a good dad, is a good brother, is a good uncle, is a good aunt, and so forth. And so it's not just about passing a test. It's not just about graduating from high school. It is about being exceptional while you're here so that we can help you be exceptional in whatever community you live in as an adult. We hope it's in Seguin. And then our mission is to cultivate, inspire, and empower students to grow and learn. The strategic priorities were taken from part of Dr. Gutierrez's 90-day entrance plan, and so we just built from those, and that is about improved instruction, engaging parents in the community, and then creating conditions in Seguin to recruit, retain, and engage employees. And so if I had to say, okay, what direction are we going? If you recall the slide with all the jets, the direction we're going is this, that we want to create an atmosphere for teachers where they have time and opportunity to collaborate and exchange ideas with one another. When I met with them, it was clear that, man, everybody is pressed for time. One of the reasons we're pressed for time is because we have so much to do. Another reason we're pressed for time is that we don't value the opportunity to collaborate and exchange ideas with one another. First grade talking to second grade talking to 10th grade. So how can we do that? Well, that's not an easy answer, but it's something that as Dr. Gutierrez and his staff begins to work through in terms of professional learning communities, it will be the opportunity for teachers to collaborate in meaningful ways about curriculum, instruction, and assessment, and about getting experiences for students. It's about targeted professional development. We're going to start with the English Language Arts and Reading curriculum, but it is related to going deeper and not wider with the curriculum. And so starting with ELAR and then going to other tested areas over the course of time as well in terms of our professional development. A focus on growth and development for teachers, and that is giving teachers meaningful feedback through not only the evaluation process, but the coaching process as well. And then partnering with local industries where the district and the community, and obviously its students benefit. And that may be through internships for students or externships for teachers in a variety of different ways. But students who need and want to be in some sort of internship to learn about local business and to learn about local industry should have that opportunity. That's not something that can happen overnight, but again, it's a direction for which we're going. I love tonight because, I got a good picture of Seguin ISD about the story of Seguin in terms of its theater, in terms of its softball, in terms of its percussion, in terms of some of the other fine arts and the dual language program. Telling the story is so important. There are so many good things that are already happening. As you get aligned and as you work as a district toward some common goals, there are even going to be more good stories to tell about the work in Seguin ISD. And then as we talk about staff, the programming, promote innovative programming that will attract and retain staff. Talk to you about the two-way dual language program. I found what Dr. Gutierrez said to be absolutely true when I was in College Station ISD as deputy superintendent and superintendent. We implemented a two-way dual language, and teachers wanted to be there because it was a two-way dual language program that really was backed by research, and it was good for the English-speaking students and the Spanish-speaking students and really made a difference. And it was one of those key attractors for those very difficult teachers to get. So you have all the details of the plan. It's been posted publicly so that everyone can see. This gives you about 10%, but it really focuses on the direction of the district, and I think empowers Dr. Gutierrez and members of his staff to really provide the needed leadership for the district as it continues to meet the needs of its students and staff and the community. I would love to answer questions for you about the strategic plan. I know it's up for approval tonight as well, so with that I'll turn it back over to Dr. Gutierrez and the board for questions.
Any questions from the board? No? Okay, Mr. Jenkins.
Would like to comment that it's a pretty amazing process y'all went through to come up to this point.
Thank you. It was fun. It was fun to be in with Seguin ISD. It's been a lot of fun. Good people, hard workers, great hearts. You know, people that love the school district, and so that's fun for me.
I'd like to thank you also and the committee, and also Dr. Gutierrez, because I think a lot of this started with your 90-day plan. So thanks for giving us the roots for this.
Thank you.
And I think it's also put a little bit of focus or enlightenment on the teachers that are already doing some collaboration amongst themselves, or changing, doing some outside of the box thinking and trying to get these kids going. So maybe those teachers can actually expand and share some of that with collaborate with some of their other teachers and use some of that.
Absolutely.
So, and Dr. Gutierrez's push on tweeting has really shown that a lot. You know, they really get it out there a lot. So.
There's some fabulous things going on already. There will be even more fabulous things in the days to come. I have no doubt about that.
Madam President, I move that we approve the strategic plan developed submitted by the 2018 Strategic Planning Committee.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion from Mr. Holt and a second from Mr. Amador. Any further discussion? Not, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Okay, 7-0. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the
Dr.
opportunity.
Gut-
Thank you.
Oh, we're going to get a photo of our committee.
We're going to ask if, for those of you who served on the committee, if you would come to the front for a photo.
I also want to, I noticed that we have 2 high school students in that group right there, and that says a lot about those 2 individuals right there.
All right, well, people like me in the front, so.
Bill, who else?
Yeah, Bill, you were there.
You were on it.
Nikki was there.
Vicki, you were there.
Nikki, I can't see you. You gotta be better than that. There you go. And I'll Photoshop myself. Excellent. Thank you.
No, okay, so right when I sent it out, the next day I got a mail, like a letter in the mail. It was already activated. So they fast, like not committed, it's a big.
Again, thank all of you for coming this evening. We appreciate your time on this Tuesday evening. All right, moving on to item 6B, which is the first reading for consideration or approval of the local district update. Dr. Gordo.
Good evening. Actually, this update is a result of your approval of the strategic plan, which just occurred, and that is on AE local, and that is the educational philosophy. So from now on, the district vision has now changed to, with your approval, will change to exceptional students to exceptional citizens. The mission statement will change to cultivate, inspire, and empower students to grow and learn. The beliefs now also have changed. The district goals will now be the strategic priorities is you just approved, and that would then update this policy. Along with this, then after your approval, we'll have to have next steps such as the online posters that we have, district improvement plan that had the previous goals, and that is to be expected. District improvement plan is a working document at all times. The campus improvement plan also, within those will be changes. The campus administrators will need to be informed, and then any of our publications that have then the previous district mission, vision, the mission, etc., then those will be changed. So just kind of wanted to see that. Just you'll see changes as they're coming. And again, a school district is always in a working mode, just looking at the needs of the students and making changes, adjusting to those to that growth that we need for our students.
All right.
I don't know if there's any questions.
We move for approval.
Okay, I have a
I'll second
motion
it.
from Mr. Flores and a second from Mr. Holt. Any further discussion?
I just have I noticed, Bill, would you bring back up the actual verbiage exhibit? There you go. I'm just noticing there's just exceptional students to exceptional citizens, and that's all we're stating as our district vision. Is there any more, I mean, there's no more wording to be put with that, that's just how we're listening?
That is correct. That's what it was.
All right.
Sweet.
Just short and sweet. I was just wondering, because we're shortening up a lot of these paragraphs, a lot.
We really are
Which
streamlining.
is good. But thank you.
All right. All right, no further discussion. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 6C. This is for approval of the Seguin ISD District of Innovation Plan and directive to the superintendent to send notice to the Commissioner of Education on the approval of the plan and listed exemptions.
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve this with prior presentation at the public hearing that we noticed that we were presented.
All right, thank you. Do I hear a second? Mr. Amador, any further discussion? I think we heard a lot this evening. All right. If no further discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. All right. There you go. All right. All right, moving on to item 6D, the approval of the school calendar for the 2018-2019 school year.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Gutierrez. This evening, we're asking you to consider approval of the calendar that's provided as an exhibit inside your packet. This calendar, we began the initial discussions back in December with the Superintendent's Teacher Communication Council. Once again, that council is chaired by a gentleman who's sitting behind me. You may or may not recognize him today. He does look a little bit different, but as he told us in the TCC meeting yesterday, when TCC unanimously approved this calendar, he said that he shaves once every 20 years, whether he needs it or not. But I want to thank, and I think Dr. Gutierrez went up to this as well, we want to thank Jack for his leadership overseeing the TCC. Essentially, those members of that committee were instrumental in providing input into this calendar that you have before you today. There are some notable changes included that were made by recommendations from the teachers who serve on this committee, who garnered those suggestions from their staffs at the campus level. And Mr. Schmidt touched upon one of them earlier, in that the first semester ends prior to the holidays rather than going into January. The committee also recommended that, and this is based on a District of Innovation calendar, so again, we're bringing this strategically to you because our District of Innovation program has passed tonight. So we are proposing a start date during the middle of the week, actually on a Thursday. The committee felt that they could use additional days leading into that first day of school during the week to get better prepared for the school year. So we do have traditional holidays such as Labor Day in September and then Fair Day. We did increase the number of professional development opportunities for our staffs, and based upon teacher recommendations as well as Mr. Schmidt's recommendations, we've tried to load those as much in the front part of the year so that they're going to have more impact throughout the school year. So you'll see a elementary teacher conference day on October 11th, and that will be a secondary professional development day. We've got 2 comp days built in during Thanksgiving. And again, I think something to keep in mind is that as in years past, we have to look at 187 days for our teachers. That's the minimum number of days that we can, actually the number of days we have them work during that calendar year. So we base the calendar upon that. We also base upon minutes. As you remember, for students, we are obligated to provide a certain number of minutes, not days. So this calendar reflects making that requirement through the state for minutes that are built in, including some extra minutes that are built in should we have any days in which students are out due to inclement weather.
Hurricanes or snowstorms.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, some days we max them out, and other some days we max them, other years we don't have any. So Bill Lewis was instrumental in putting together a complex algorithm program. Actually, it was an Excel spreadsheet which tracked the minutes to make sure that we meet that requirement and have extra minutes built in throughout the school year. We also have 2 days, continue 2 days in January as we come back from the holidays. One is a work day, one is a professional development day. The committee recommended that we include a teacher work day on Easter Monday. So next year Easter falls on April 19th. I'm sorry, Good Friday is April 19th, with the 22nd being a work day. The logic and recommendation behind that is that we tend to have a very low student attendance on that Monday, and our teachers felt that if we could give the students that day, they could benefit from having a work day on that day in April. And quickly going through, we do finish the school year. Last day of school is recommended to be May 30th, and that would be a teacher work day on that Friday, May 31st. We do have to build in a couple teacher bad weather makeup days. Again, back to that 187 magic number, and so we do have June, put my glasses on, June 1st, which is a Saturday, and the 3rd is a Monday for those makeup days for teachers, which hopefully we will not have to use. I'll entertain any questions that you may have.
Yes, sir. Mr. Holtz.
In the prior years of approving calendars, we've always denoted what our graduation day is, and I don't note that on this particular calendar.
And Mr. Holt, we 2 years ago, in this past year's calendar and this year's calendar, we don't have that. We feel that that's a campus-based decision based upon Mr. Escobar and his staff, and that they will plan that day accordingly. And of course, he communicates it, and we help communicate when that day is established. So we've intentionally left that out simply because we feel that that should be a campus-based decision.
Not a problem.
Yes, sir.
I can tell a lot of thought went into this and a lot of dialogue, so I really, really appreciate it. If you'll let the committee know. I'm very pleased personally. So I think that there's going to be a lot of happy parents out there and students. So do I hear a motion for approval?
Madam President, I move that we approve the calendar as presented by the TCC.
All right, thank you, Mr. Holt. Do I hear a second? Mr. Amador? Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. All right. Moving on to item 6E, which is the first reading for consideration or approval of the Texas Association of School Boards Policy Update 110 affecting legal and local policies.
Good evening again, and this is still a remnant of the legislative session. This one has to do with the elections, and there has been a few changes, as you see. There's on the legal side, there were 10 policies that have been updated and changed. Those you do not see any changes. The state just provides them as is. We do study them very carefully to make sure that if they're impacting anything in particular, is we're building the timeline for the elections, which you have to take some actions, several actions on that. On the local side, there's only one, and you see there the changes that were done to the policy. They just make it a little bit clearer on what is expected as far as the elections in Seguin ISD. If there's any questions or any comments? No.
All right, I know this is first reading, but do I hear a move for approval?
Madam President, I move that we approve the Texas Association of School Board Policy Update 110 affecting legal and local policies as presented to us this evening.
And I'll second.
And a second from Mr. Flores. No further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. 7-0. Thank you. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 6F, which is a consideration and approval of the resolutions approving examinations for credit for students in grades 6 through 12 who have had prior instruction. And this is EHDB local, and examinations for acceleration to earn credit, which is EHDC local as well.
President Thomas Mendes, members of the board, Dr. Gutierrez. We do have 2 resolutions to go about basically putting into writing what we will do for students wanting to receive credit with prior instruction. And we also have a resolution for students trying to receive credit through acceleration or through credit retrieval. Basically what we're saying is that in the first resolution, we're saying that we would use, as we have used in the past, examinations developed by the University of Texas at Austin. That's going to be used for credit by examination. And in the second resolution, there's 4 different ways that students can receive credit, and it's saying that we can use University of Texas at Austin, UT Austin, which we do right now. There's also examinations developed by Texas Tech University, TTU ISD. They have a TEKS-based curriculum as well we could possibly use. For high school credit courses for which an EOC assessment is required, we would continue to use applicable AP exams as well as applicable CLEP examinations. That is.
Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Schmidt, in regards to the examination, approving examinations for credit for students in grades 6 through 12 who have had prior instruction. Currently, if they are in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade and take a high school level course, they do not receive the GPA credit for that as well. They only receive the credit for the course. Is that correct? Yes, is there a reasoning behind that? I know that was changed. I think it was 6 years ago, 5 years ago. It was taken up. At one point we had it where they got credit, I thought, and then we delineated it. I was trying to remember the date, but
It is.
Is there a reasoning behind why we wouldn't give them the GPA credit for it?
It would need to be something that we would sit down and we would discuss as we were looking at policy. That definitely is part of a bigger conversation.
Right.
I can tell you that there is a school of thought that says the students earn the credit, give them the GPA. There's also the side to that, well, they barely earn the credit, and then is that GPA also going to hurt them? You know, we want students to take academic risks. We want them to take the rigorous courses and challenge themselves, but at the same time, in doing that, if there possibly could be a negative ramification, that definitely warrants further discussion. It would also warrant something as so far as to which we don't have in board policy right now. Do we want to have a policy for a student to be able to retake a course within a year for strength if they didn't have a GPA that suited, or if the grade didn't suit them? So we don't have that structure in place. Definitely would involve further conversation, starting probably a discussion within the SLT, that level, and then we could put together a group and go through that TASB process.
I would just like to know if there's a reasoning behind it. That's the only reason why I'm asking. I don't see if there would be a benefit or a con, a pro or a con to it. That's why I was just wondering. It was brought to my attention by.
And I'm not sure how long ago that was, Dr. Goroglo. You might, I don't know if you were part of that change.
It was prior to that, and actually, the student gets the credit, the grade does not get included in their GPA.
Right.
Right.
That's what's current. Yeah.
And
I was not here at that time.
I can tell you that I've seen it where in some districts they do get the credit, or they do get the grade counted into the GPA, and in others they don't. So it would definitely have to be a process, and it would be a a rather deep discussion, I would
I don't
think.
know if it'd be a positive or a negative form. I'm just asking because it brought up to my question. My latest graduated this year.
Right.
It's not accounted.
I think that it's,
And I'm sure it's probably because it would benefit them.
right, I think it's two sides of the coin. It may
Yeah.
benefit, some, and at the same time, it may not benefit others, but we can look into, having that discussion.
All right, we can look into that in the future.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any further questions? If not, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
All right, Mr. Holt, do I hear a second? Mr. Amador, no further questions? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passed 7-0. Thank you. Moving on to item 6G, which is discussion and possible action to grant the superintendent hiring authority for certified personnel during the recruiting season. Dr. Booth.
Okay, again for Dot Whitman. As is a normal practice in districts our size, we are asking that the superintendent have hiring authority as we're hitting the hiring season. For example, we do have a job fair next week, and it's really important that we can hire high-quality teachers in a timely manner. Otherwise, we're waiting 2, 3, almost 4 weeks to hire, and many of these first-time job seekers are going to go with the first district that lets them sign a contract. And we're competing with San Antonio area school districts that are paying. They'll be in the mid-50s next year. In fact, one of our neighbors just gave a 3% increase last night at a board meeting, so it's becoming ever more competitive. And we want to allow our principals to be able to hire on the spot. Nothing is going to change as far as the process. You're still going to be provided the same personnel action sheet at a board meeting. However, it would be in the form of information. And in addition to that, in an effort to be more transparent, you will also be provided a weekly report of new hires so that you know who those new hires are and where they're coming from. We just feel that it's important to be able to get these candidates pretty quickly, even if we're at a job fair and we find a rock star. Sometimes principals are at those job fairs, to be able to offer them a job and a contract so that we don't lose out on them to a Northside ISD.
And as we're going forward with our District of Innovation and our new strategic plan and implementing new programs like dual language, I think it is very critical that we get a jump on some of these really gifted teachers. And I think we're getting their attention, but we need to be able to grab onto them as quickly as possible. We don't want to let them slip through our fingers. Any further discussion? Ms. Reel? Ms. Reel?
I just have a concern about turning it all over. It's not that I have any concerns with Dr. Gutierrez's, hiring, his ability of recognizing talent or anything like that. It's just my only concern is that this is it's the removing of the accountability of the board to the people that we represent. Each month we're asked to approve the hiring and resignations. I just kind of feel like that's a board responsibility, and we need to, we're accountable for that action. I understand the timeliness factor. I don't have any opposition to a special meeting. If it's a time factor to get a hold of the really good employees, I understand that.
I'd also like to say that this wouldn't include administrative hires. That would stay the same, and I understand that piece, but we're at the size that board members don't usually know the hires that are coming in. When I think about my hometown, those board members do know the hires because people coming back and, thinking about some of the things they did in college. So there's discussion about these people, but we're of the size where we really don't know many of the folks that we're hiring. And I think about my own personal experience when I had first graduated and I had received an offer from San Angelo ISD and Northside ISD. And I was going to have to wait, I believe, 2.5 weeks for my name to go to the board. And they told me, they assured me, but it wasn't enough. And so I signed my contract with Northside ISD. Thank God that I did, because I don't think I would be where I am today had I gone to San Angelo ISD. But that experience is an example that I had where San Angelo ISD lost out on a teacher because they were going to have to wait to take my name to the board. And so I chose to go to Northside. And I'm only recommending this because it is a normal practice. In districts our size, even somewhat smaller, you typically don't see this happen in very small districts. But we certainly don't want to lose out on good candidates, because we will.
In actuality, we don't actually hire the personnel. They're still going to go through an extensive background and check through the HR department. The only person we hire and release of services is the superintendent. All we are doing by each month is just approving the recommendations from our HR department. So we're not actually hiring. But our ultimate person that we're evaluating is Dr. Gutierrez. So if he feels that he needs the authority to hire those people on the spot, which after talking about the dual language, two-way language program, we need to grab those people immediately. We can take care of that in his evaluation if we don't feel that he's doing it properly.
Exactly.
And at any point in time, because we've gone through this in the past, Barbara, Ish, and myself, where we can actually come back and rescind this if needed at any point in time if we feel it's getting out of hand as a board. So I don't see the problem with it. I see it as a benefit and as an opportunity to grab those teachers that we feel are rock stars, as he put it, and maybe need to put them in our team.
Any further discussion over here? Ms. Reel?
Yeah, and I get the whole waiting until the whole next board meeting. I can see how that would be an issue. That's why I suggested calling special meetings if there was something that we needed to get after quickly. And I understand that we don't do the hiring, but we do the approving. I wasn't suggesting that.
But we're still going to approve the recommendation. We're still going to accept them. It's more of an informational item, but we're still accepting. I mean, tonight we're accepting resignations, and I don't see anybody that we're...
Just resignations.
Just resignation. We're not hiring anybody tonight, but in utmost, I mean, pretty much those people have already been hired by the time they get here at this point. They're committed to us, and they've done extensive background on it. I have full faith in Dot Whitman and Dr. Gutierrez that they're going to fully vet these people that we're going to hire. We're going to make sure we're not going to put ourselves in any jeopardy, because ultimately they are going to be responsible in the long run, and they're going to be held accountable at the end of the day and be held accountable to us. I mean, there's 7 of us that are going to be looking down at him saying, hey, you hired this person.
All right, well, I believe, no further discussion. I believe Ms. Effenberger.
I second Ms. Effenberger.
Okay. All right, Ms. Effenberger has given us the motion. Mr. John has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-1. All right, and moving on to our last action item, which is personnel action for professional employees. Are you going to play the part of Ms. Whitman again?
Sure. Members of the board, here we have the personnel action form, which includes resignations that we have received up until this point.
Madam President.
Yes, sir, Mr. Holt.
I move that we accept acknowledge the resignation presented to us by the HR department.
All right. Do I hear a second? Mr. Amador? Any further discussion? Not all in favor, raise your right hand. Approved, same sign. Ish, did you raise your hand?
Acknowledgement.
Is it an acknowledgement?
No.
Okay. It's not an approval, it's just an acknowledgement. Okay, you're right. I didn't highlight that. All right. We didn't hire anybody. We're just acknowledging the fact that they have resigned. Thank you, Mr. Flores. So scratch that vote, Nancy.
What are you doing, John?
Okay. All right. Do we have, moving on to item 7, we will not need to go into closed session. And for item 8, do we have any board comments or requests? Yes, Ms. Real.
I request that we get a report on the procedures that have been implemented at campus and district levels to be proactive on the students' lunch accounts and the notification of parents and guardians.
And we have that draft, we just finished reviewing as a team, and we'll have that prepared and an update for Friday. I had to think about what day it was, sorry.
Anything else? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn? I heard a lot of motions. All right, so we will adjourn at 8:35 p.m. Thank you.